Back in Myanmar, here in Yangon, at the lake here in Seine, the airport is like really very close to here. It's just kind of around the corner, with the airplanes taking off. Well, if there were more than taking off, you would have heard lots of them. Basically, they fly over this park. They just take off there, and then they kind of fly over our heads here. So maybe one or two might fly. I don't know, this time of the day, depending on, there's not a lot of them flying these days lately. Anyhow, so we're busy with Exodus chapter 4, verse 1. Then Moses answered, "But behold, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, the Lord did not appear to you." So this is, remember in chapter 3, God appearing to Moses, God even giving his name to Moses, right, allowing for that kind of abuse to happen. But yes, as we've seen later on, he's going to make a law forbidding them that kind of abuse. But at that stage, the law was not given yet. I mean, at the stage that God appeared to Moses, understandably, at the stage it was written down, yes, it was given already. So, but Moses did not like this. Moses did not want to go for this. Moses still, he didn't want to go down. He was going to search all kinds of different excuses for ultimately not going or not wanting to go. So he's like, right? So what if they don't listen to my voice? Right? They will say, God didn't appear to you. You're just making things up. Right? And the word Lord that he's used, that Moses is using in his writing here, again, is the name that he got in the previous chapter, is Tetragrammaton, right? So, yes, sure, it might be a question of like he appears and like, oh, God didn't appear to you. You just Moses had fled, and now you kind of want to get your kingdom back here in Egypt. You want to dethrone. You heard that Pharaoh is dead and his son is now reigning, and now you can get your position back. Maybe this is just a way you want to use us to get the kingdom, to get the kingship, or to become the Pharaoh in Egypt. Easily they could have thought like that, right? Because previous Pharaoh dead, and this might have been a plan. I mean, these kinds of things happen. Okay, we have lots of examples like that in general. That is more often than not why certain countries, like for example, the communists got rid of the Tsar and his whole family, because they didn't want anyone to come back and kind of claim. Right? So in this case, Moses is still out there, and he could have. They could have thought like this. It does make sense from a political point of view. What Moses is trying to say here, it does make sense, right? But ultimately, we can see from this is they might think so, but Moses was not thinking like that. Okay, now he could have had this thought in his brain. He could have used this excuse. But this is not really what he was getting at. We see it from the previous chapter, and we can go and see it here. He didn't want to go. He was just looking for excuses. So again, the people there might think like this, right? And Moses might have thought that they might think like this. But this is not his motivation per se. His motivation is he didn't want to go. That's that. Verse 2, the Lord said to him, "What is in your hand?" He said, "A staff." So, when God's like, "So what is there in your hand?" Cell phone. Okay, no, not the cell phone. So just imagine a cell phone. Throw it down. Okay, here's a. It's not a staff. Okay, and this thing is not going to. I guess if in England, some places you like take this. As far as I heard, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but if I've read about it, if you take this out of a park, public park like they might put you in prison for stealing or something like that. But anyhow, luckily it's not like this here in Myanmar. So I picked this up. So like the staff, there's a staff in your hand, right? So God asks, "What's that in your hand?" Okay, he's got the staff. I mean, he was a shepherd. I mean, he would have had the staff. He's old, 80, well, nearly 80, and walking around, kind of makes sense, right? So, yeah, that's what he said. So it's a staff. Again, this is not a staff, but anyhow, okay. Verse 3, and he said, "Throw it on the ground." So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses ran from it. So just imagine, just imagine, I'm like, now after, like, there's this piece of wood here, and I throw it in the ground, like, and it turns into a snake, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm going to run away as well. I mean, it makes sense for Moses to run away. I mean, I think we all will run away, right? The staff turned into a snake. Oh, wow, how did that kind of happen? Like, and snakes are Again, you get different kinds of snakes, right? Some snakes are more poisonous than others. Yeah, so well, ultimately, this is not what happens. And okay, normal reaction.